to renew my passport because it went through the washing machine and was all soft and stuff. So the guy at the airport made a notation in there that if I tried to go through again, it wouldn't let me board. So I had to. And so I went down there, my old one, and I just told them, hey, I need a new one, and filled out that form. But when I filled it out, where the Social Security number is supposed to be, I just put zeros, and then down in the penalty of perjury statement area, they actually have that verbiage built into the penalty of perjury statement, so I blacked out like 3/4 of it. Then I stopped it. They make you sign it in their presence. So I was right there in the Federal building. I just went down there early in the morning. Got there early, like at 7. I was like 10th in line. So I was out of there within a half hour. But what ended up happening was that at first I didn't know you have to you have to admit to being a U.S. citizen. Where does it say I have to admit to being a U.S. citizen? Where does it say that? I would be committing perjury, which is exactly why you can ask me, but I can say no. And this passport doesn't confer citizenship. It doesn't prove that anyone's a citizen anyway.
That's right.
And so she's like, this Oriental gal, young gal, she didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So she goes in the back, comes back out and says, no, I spoke to the director. She said that you can't alter the form, blah, blah, blah. And I said, so she needs to come out here. I need for her to witness this signature because I'm going to be committing perjury if I didn't cross this out. If you're going to force me to redo a form. I said, I need her to come out. So she leaves again, and now she's gone even longer. Then she comes out with this big black guy, and he comes walking up and he waves for me because I had sat down. I was standing there for so long, I just sat down. So he calls me back up, motions me. He goes, okay. He says, we're going to accept your application. And then I said, okay, I'm going to need a copy of that. And he said, no, we don't give copies. I said, wait a minute. It requires that I sign this in front of you, and I need proof that I signed that and didn't commit perjury. I need a copy of that. Otherwise, I would have made a copy before I came in here. If I could have signed it somewhere else, he goes, okay, go make him a copy. So he made me a copy, and then they had my old passport. They had taken it, and they punched a hole in it. And I said, I want my old passport back. He goes, no. That goes to Washington, D.C. And I go, and then what? It's chopped up? I said, no, I want it back. You already put a hole in it. It's got historical information regarding my travels, and I want it back. He gave it back to me. So, see, people just generally go along with what they're told is either acceptable or normal, whatever. So, see, it doesn't make any sense that they would either keep the passport, because they have no use with keeping it. Nobody else can use it. It's got a hole in it. And there's no reason that they shouldn't give me a copy of something that I signed in front of them.
Right.
In fact, the law would compel them to. But how many people will stand up and say, no, that's not acceptable?
That's right.
Do I have to explain this to you? And of course, it's just because they're told to do certain things. And when certain people are asking them either to do, this is why I don't ask employees to do anything. I tell them what I need them to do. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to file this on demand. Here. Then they can't ask you any questions. If you say, I need you to file this paperwork into the court file, well, what is it? If you say, I need you to file this on demand, boom, that's it. So you're telling them, you're not asking them. So a lot of this is just how we phrase what it is that we're trying to communicate. If we act like we don't know what the hell we're doing, like most people, then we would ask them, what the hell do I do?
Right. Okay,
right?
So now the question arises, Doug, now that you have the DBA registered with Minnesota, would that make any difference if you had to file today to get a passport?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You know, I thought about that after you asked me, and there's no way to know how that will affect that, because in reality, they're putting your surname and your given name, which really is you. Nowhere on there is Douglas Joseph Herrick.
Right.
But the part that infers that Douglas Joseph Herrick created that, in other words, my business entity created this passport, is that they ask for a first, middle, last name when you're filling that paperwork out.
Yes.
The bottom line is, because that is commerce, that's a government application. You're requesting something. So you want to use your business entity name.
That's what I would think.
I wanted to put Douglas Joseph Herrick, right? I want that business entity to be what's in commerce. Then they're actually taking that name and flipping it back around to show who it really is, because it's not an ID. It's just a travel document.
That's all it is.
Yeah, which is why, and I told Ed this, they say it's just a travel document, it's not an ID. They will accept it in most cases as if it were an ID, but only because if they said point blank, no, this is not a certificate of life birth, to get either one. What the hell differences does it make?
Right.
Yeah, see? It's like, well, one doesn't have an address. Well, what difference does that make? I can give you an address. No, we need it to be on that card. We need it to be all like the way it is. But they will, I don't think many people connect the fact that a surname and given name is not the same as a first, middle, last name. They use them synonymously as if they would use the United States and United States of America. To them, they mean the same thing. They're clueless.
So question then, Doug, when you signed for the passport, if you did, or if I did that, wouldn't I sign Blackstock, Richard Maynard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Because you're not doing anything other than just telling the truth.
That's right.
And because you're not linking that Social Security number with that name, they're not going to associate it with the surname and given name either.
Right. Okay. Next question, Doug. Bank accounts. Have you got one open yet?
Yeah, I've had one open for over a year now.
Okay. Did you have any difficulty doing that?
The only difficulty I had, I went to U.S. Bank because I was living on Catalina Island at the time. That's the only bank there is over there.
Sure.
It just so happened that their corporate office, it was just coincidence, their corporate office is in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Wow.
So when I showed them my founding business document, which is just the assumed name certificate, she asked for where are your founding business documents, and I go, right here. I have an assumed name certificate. She goes, oh, great. So she sits down and she starts to input the information. And she's like, so you're Douglas Joseph Herrick, right? And I said, no, that's my registered business entity. Look, I showed her the certificate. I said, this proves that Douglas Joseph Herrick is not me. This is me down here. I'm the name holder. And she's like, oh. And then she was like, you could tell she was just staring at the screen for an inordinate amount of time. So I asked her, I said, are you having some difficulty with inputting my real name? Where I came from and who I'm known as? Because that's the real me, but identify me. That family name has to come first, followed by a comma, and you got to put that in the field that probably says first, because you're trying to fit it in a first, middle, last name, and it's not going to work. And she goes, yeah, they won't let me do that. The system won't let me do that. The system meaning her boss.
That's right.
And or his boss. They've got to do it this way. And I said, all right. I said, well, if anyone ever questions whether this entity exists and that I'm the name holder, they want to categorize you. So the only thing that comes up is that as an issue. But when you sign it, like your signature card, it's all done on an electric pad, right?
Right.
So you would sign it with your surname, comma, given name.
Sure.
That's your signature card. So if they print your name wrong, that's not your fault. They're inputting all this. You're not inputting it. They are.
Did you get a copy of it? Did you get a copy of it, Doug, when you signed it that way?
Yeah, but it all says Douglas Joseph Herrick, and I told him, I said, Herrick, comma, Douglas Joseph, and Douglas Joseph Herrick are not the same. So you know what I did? Right underneath where my signature is, and it had it printed, Douglas Joseph Herrick, I put a DBA in front of it.
Ah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, he laughed, and I said, well, at least now it's telling the truth.
That's right.
Our bank won't let us have
And she goes, yeah, you're right. And then the other thing they were able to do, the statements, if you want mailed statements, which I didn't want statements mailed to me, it's like $3.50 a month, $3.50, unless you keep there's like a minimum balance, but otherwise it's just $100 to open, no monthly, no fees, and then you could draw it down after that. Like that day you could take $75 out and leave $25 in there if you wanted.
Sure.
So yeah, that's a good bank to go to because of that. They don't charge. I know some of them, if it's a business bank account, even the one with no interest and nothing, is still, they charge you. And so I think if you have like a massive amount of transactions, like a lot of deposits and stuff, that's when they'll have maybe a limit. But I hardly have any business activity at all. But any money that goes into that account is being held in the name of my business. So it's not my money, but I have control of it. And I'm the only one that has control of it.
I like that. Yeah, that's great, Doug.
Yeah. So that, the other thing they were able to do was, they give you a debit card, and it looks just like a credit card, of course, but it says business banking card or something like that on it. It says it's a business card, and then instead of it just having one name, it has it has Herrick, no comma, but Herrick, then Douglas Joseph, and then underneath that, Douglas Joseph Herrick. So there's two names on that card, and it's the business bank card. So obviously, it's obvious that they're two separate things. One, whenever there's like if you had a corporation, and you're the president of that corporation, and you got a card that you can charge all the expenses, it's going to have your name on top, and then the name of the corporation below it. That's the business. So that's the way my ATM card is set up, but I had to ask them for that. They were just going to give me one that said Douglas Joseph Herrick, and I said, well, how do people know that it's not me?
Right.
And she's like, yeah. She goes, well, maybe I can do it that way, the right way, because it wouldn't look right to be Douglas Joseph Herrick and then Douglas Joseph Herrick. I told her, I said, how stupid would that look? One's got to be different than the other. And one that I explained to her, I said, look, a business entity can't sign for itself. Only a living man is. I'm the living man. That's what this is all about. And you can see that it made sense to her.
Sure.
Like, she got it, yeah. So she just told me that one of the things that they did do right at the very beginning, though, I forgot to tell you this. I went in there and asked my paperwork, and she goes, you know what? She goes, I've never seen anything like this. Let me go ahead and call. I'll go ahead and make a call to my corporate office, and I'll make a copy of this, and then I'll call you when I hear back from them. So what she ended up doing was faxing the assumed name certificate to corporate. And they're the ones that said, yeah, go ahead and open the account. And, there's one other thing you got to understand. They're going to ask you what kind of business is it, which is like a tax category, right?
Yes.
That's what they're asking. The Social Security number, if they ask you what is your Social Security number, I always correct them. I say, you know what? I don't have a Social Security number. What I'm able to use is a number, a tax identifier that I believe they refer to as a Social Security number that's associated with my legal name. I'm able to use that number in concert with that registered business entity. So that's why you give that to them. You don't worry about it. And first of all, it's not yours. Social Security Administration, if they ask you for your card back, you have to give it back to them.
It's their property.
It's theirs, right. So, and technically, so is that name they created, but they're letting you use it. It's like the opposite of what happens when you go down and you pay money and register your car. Now you're giving them something and they're letting you use it that way. But it was yours first. Then you gave it to them, and now they're leasing it back to you. This name, you never lost your real name. Your real name, though, doesn't identify you. So if they try to identify you, that's impossible. That's what I tell them. I said, it's impossible for you to identify, or anyone to identify me. I'm a living man. You can identify an object, but I'm not an object. See, I'm a living man. So if you're trying to identify Douglas Joseph Herrick, you just found him. He's right here. He's my registered business entity. That's an object. It's a thing. It's a business entity.
That makes sense, Doug.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It makes total sense. It's their way of allowing us to operate in commerce without placing ourselves in jeopardy. Any other way we operate, we're placing ourselves in jeopardy. Any other way. And that includes, getting a license and operating that way. See, if you're the owner of a corporate entity, your corporation is operating lawfully. It's got standing. But you're totally exposed. You're not, because I know how this system works. If you think you're protected by the corporate veil, guess again, you're not protected against me.
That's right.
When you're a corporation, they have a law that you have to abide by because of that license, and that is, if you are being sued, or in other words, you have to defend your corporate entity, or you want to sue somebody, you have to use an attorney, a licensed attorney.
And you don't.
This is how they control corporations, right? But I don't. I can represent, as a CEO, I can represent my business entity, but I'm not acting as an attorney. So the assumption, see, that's why you don't want to ever say, even if you're taking an offensive position, in other words, filing a lawsuit on behalf of your business entity, you're not pro per. Pro per is pro persona. That means you're acting as that person, and I'm not. I'm acting as the real man doing business as this person.
Right.
So in other words, I'm moving that game piece around now, and I'm on the outside, so they can't hurt me. No matter what they do, they can't hurt me. And I follow in the law. and point. If I get in their courtroom, I'm going to point out that none of them are registered. Well, are you registered, Judge? Whatever your name is. You know, they always have their name on there. So it's like, are you registered? Because if you're not registered, there's two things. Number one, you're going to have to pay me because there's a violation here. And number two, I'm going to need to see some ID. I need to know who I'm doing business with. So that's the whole purpose of that name certificate, is so that you know who you're doing business with. If you haven't filed that name, how the hell do I know who I'm doing business with?
You don't.
Yeah. So I have every right to ask for that. And because that judge has now just been exposed as not being registered, that essentially exposes the whole fraud. The whole nature of this is an illusion.
It is.
It's all. When we play into it, of course they play along. They're all just actors, and they're getting paid to play along. You're not. So, you know, it's real simple. It doesn't get much simpler. Once you see what they did, you can see that it's almost so simple and so right under your nose that you don't see it. It's the name you're using every day.
Right. Okay, another question, Doug. You say in your writing on that article that family name comes first.
Right.
Where did you get that?
From the universe, my friend. But when you think about it, it's common sense. The chicken doesn't come, or the egg doesn't come before the chicken. The chicken is before the egg.
That's true.
So your family name, you inherit that automatically. You have no say in that. That name comes from your father. So your father is where that family name came from. You didn't appear first, and then the family name came. No. So the family always comes first in that literal sense, but also from a literal sense. Why would you put your family name last? You would never put your family last anyway. Family always comes first in every way. So it's in first position, and also if you check international law, that is the proper way to state your real name. Your family name, surname first, followed by a comma, which is a pause. In punctuation, that's a pause, and then the given name. And the given name still doesn't identify you. It doesn't identify you any more than the family name does. A family name identifies where you came from, a place. So it's a thing. It's a city or whatever. Now, oftentimes families were recognized by where they came from by that name.
Like Douglas of Avalon.
Yeah, or Lawrence of Arabia, whatever.
Yeah, right.
So, but see, that was considered as also known as. That's an AKA. Because everyone has a family, but they don't have a last name. No one has a last name. So if you Google Queen Elizabeth and no last name, they'll tell you there's three things that I have in common with the Queen of England. One is she does not have a last name. The second one is she doesn't have a driver's license. And the third one is she doesn't register any of her vehicles.
That's true, Doug.
She's the only one, supposedly, but you know other royals don't either.
That's right.
It's because they know. They know, what is she called? Queen Elizabeth of Windsor or something like that. I can't remember. Of Wales. I can't remember what it is, but it's always up somewhere. But then they have a family name, too. You just never hear about it. Why? Because it's none of our business.
Right.
That's family business. So why are we exposing? See, this is how stupid government employees are. They're putting their family name where? It's emblazoned across their chest. Why are you bringing your family into your job? What does your family have to do with your job? Nothing. It's none of anyone else's business. They won't give you their given name, though. It's the exact opposite of the way it should be. They want them to identify with that last name.
Right.
It's a subliminal message to them, because every time they ask you what's your name, what they're really asking you is, what's your last name?
Correct.
What is your last? So when you say, I don't have a last name, oh, wow, that's like, they're not ready for that. That's like a non-response to them.
Yes.
And I'm just being honest. I don't have a last name. And Queen Elizabeth doesn't have one either. But that's, I'm not stating that I'm a king or sovereign of any kind. I just don't have a last name. Period. Are you going to force me to have a last name? I have a family name, but that's not a last name.
Right.
So it's almost like if they do have a copyright, it's on that first, middle, last name. And it's through the Vatican. It's through the connection. That's why oftentimes if you say, I don't have a birth certificate, they'll say, oh, do you have a baptismal record? Like, wait a minute. What does baptismal record have to do? I could just find somebody's baptismal record and say, this is mine. There's no picture on it. There's nothing other than, maybe some record in some church somewhere. Why is a baptismal record acceptable as a form of ID? It's because they're the ones that created all this. The Pope and the church in general, they're the ones who created this. That's why you hear the Pope now saying that the church is not involved anymore. There's no immunity for government employees.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So why is the Pope saying this stuff? Because he's trying to get the church out of hot water. As they see the doors closing in, the walls closing in, not the doors, the walls. They see everything being exposed anyway. And look at the church, how it's being exposed. For pedophilia and all these other things that are going on right under our noses. And nobody suspects it because it's the church. So, the Pope is doing everything he can to now separate the church from the state.
Sure.
They're supposed to be separate, but that's never been the case.
Hey, Doug, question. You know who KW is, don't you?
KW. No, help me out. Kenworth?
Well, he goes by Kenneth Wayne. He's a guy who lives in Ohio, or I guess Kentucky first. Anyway, Colleen knows him. She knows him personally. He's dealing with
everybody.
I know, but anyway.
That woman is has had her nose to the grindstone on this issue for a lot longer than me. I was led down, Ed Rivera's path.
Yes.
And that was completely off subject there. There's nothing ever, whenever I brought up the thing about the name, he just nah.
Yeah, I know. I got the same response.
Yeah, and he knows we're right. And I told him, I said, one of these days, a sheriff's going to show up at your door. You're going to get served. And I'm hoping he moves. I'm hoping that because I don't know if I would actually do that. He doesn't have any. And what good is that going to do me to try and hurt another man? Even this case here that I'm involved in, I told the attorney, I don't really want to hurt your client. I gave him every opportunity to do the right thing, though. And he's hurting himself. So here's the good news. Even though he's going to have to pay me, give me my business property back, I'll help him sue the city. Right? I said, I've seen these contracts. There's a flaw in every contract. I'll tell you where it is. I got to find that contract. Well, come to find out, Rich, there is no contract.
Really?
So, yeah, this is blowing me away. So, there's what they call a rotational system, and you sign up as a tow company, but it's all voluntary. So, in other words, when your name, it's like you're on call, right? And when your name comes up, say, for example, you got 3 trucks and all 3 of them are tied up. You just say, no, we're going to pass. Your dispatcher. Because you've always got a dispatcher, right?
Right.
You got to. That's one of the things you got to have, 24-hour dispatch. Okay, so dispatch says, no, we're going to pass on this one. So then it goes to the next one. If they pass, it goes to the next one.
I got it.
So it's all voluntary in nature. If it was a contract, then they would be able to put in place something that says if you don't do it, then and it happens this many times, blah 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 blah, whatever. They want it, but it would have to be an agreement on both sides. And so since 1972, this is when this whole thing. See, up until that point, tow trucks were created to help people. The guy who invented the tow truck had a shop, and he wanted to bring customers in. What a great idea! So he's helping these people, and in turn getting business. Win-win.
Sure.
Well, then the government says, we're going to take that same tool, only we're going to use it to steal cars, and then hold them, extort money out of people that don't have a clue that they're giving their cars to the state to begin with.
Yes.
So, but by registering them. So all of this is now being exposed for what it is. And this attorney, I know, is in probably a semi-state of shock. And I don't know if he even knows that his client, because see, what this means is that the city, I told the city attorney, I was joking with him. I said, Brian, you guys are brilliant. You got all these tow companies to totally expose themselves to liability, because if there's no contract, their driver could say, well, I'm not going to, hey, boss, call up his boss, say, hey, there's a truck here that says private property on the plate. Should we be towing something like that? And he would be able to say, no, hell no, drive away. Refuse that offer to contract.
Right.
See? So it places all the liability on that tow company owner to know the law. And what does he do? He runs a tow company. And so how can he be expected to know the law? Well, this is a good lesson. Don't do business without a contract, especially if it's with the government.
Okay, another question, Doug.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's happened is I resigned as registered agent for the agency known as the all caps name. Sent that in to the Department of Justice, IRS, Treasury Department, U.S. Attorney, because I have to pay $100 a month for court costs for my incarceration when I was in prison for 3.5 years. So does me registering the DBA in Minnesota have any negative effect on that aspect of it, or vice versa?
Let me ask you, how did you sign it?
I just signed it, Richard.
All lowercase.
You didn't sign it using that legal name?
Nope.
Well, I would say that it probably isn't valid to begin with. It's not doing anything. What was it supposed? So you're saying that you're resigning yourself as agent. What made you agent to begin with?
When I got a driver's license in this state.
But that doesn't make you an agent.
Well, according to them, it does.
It creates something. What it creates is a contract.
Okay.
But there's no agency relationship with the government. It's just a straight unilateral contract. You will do what we say, or we will punish you.
Yeah.
That's the contract. Okay. So nothing else matters. All this constitutional crap, Bill of Rights, you don't have any rights.
Okay.
Those went out the window when you signed that. But when you file that assumed name certificate, what does it do to that driver's license? It voids that. So anything that has been signed using that legal name is void. So it doesn't mean anything unless it's got your surname, comma, given name.
Boy,
that letter that you wrote that as if it did mean something. Did it accomplish anything? Have you seen it do? I mean, do you have any proof that it did anything other than just get filed into the record?
No, I don't have any proof at all.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. So yeah, don't worry at all about that.
Okay, last question, Doug. Colleen suggests filing a one-page DBA assumed name certificate with the county clerk.
Yes, the one that I sent you, the
yes.
sample.
Right.
That's what they filed into their local county clerk. And I agree with her, because any filings that they have, public filings, are going to be, regarding that property, are going to be filed into that county.
Right.
Or that property. So you want to file an assumed name certificate, yes, and actually send a copy of it directly to the tax collector and the county clerk.
Okay.
The county clerk oversees both the recording department and the business name department. There's two separate departments within the clerk's office.
What I had in mind doing, Doug, was filing with Minnesota first, and then put that certificate of good standing along with my assumed name certificate to the county clerk.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I'm not saying what Colleen is doing is not working, because there's no evidence that it's not working. They're still in that property 6 years later, but they just filed this one. But you can file as many as you want. You know, they'll take your money.
Sure.
And as long as it contains, what did they tell me? The guy here in California says, as long as it complies with all the requirements in the legislation.
Right.
So obviously the legislation in Texas, they're going above and beyond. But there's only a minimum requirement. So if you have more information than that, it's not like they can pick and choose and say, all right, we'll file it as long as you redact these other things. No, they have to accept it for what it is. And so what they're doing, I see what she's doing. What she's doing is she's noticing not just the county clerk and the keeper of records there, she's also noticing everyone involved in that case, that foreclosure case. See, because now that's a part of the public record. They can't say they didn't know.
Right.
And that verbiage is specifically designed to protect your interest, your business entity interest in that property, because that property is held in your business entity name.
Sure is.
That's why the thing that's confusing about that assumed name certificate that they created is that they make the assumed name the same as he calls it an owner. I don't like that word either. I try to stay away from ownership, because ownership is not a good thing.
No, it's not.
Well, the wealthiest people will tell you, you don't want to own anything. If you say you own something, that just is like a sign saying, come and take it. So, why? Because you're liable when you say that. When you go around flash and bling, and it's not held in a business entity name, come take it from me, because someone can, if they know. And so these tow operators, like I said, going back to this, they're sitting ducks. You could sue them all. You would just have to set them up somehow, like park my truck right in front of the police station, like that, in a parking meter without feeding the parking meter.
Right.
And then stand there when they come and say, here's the keys. You want to take it? Go right ahead. I dare you. That's my business property. Here you go. I did it to these cops in Santa Monica, and they wouldn't take my keys.
Wow. That's neat.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, the thing about this case here is, see, I was trying to get them to do it to me in Southern California, and I couldn't. But they did it right here, and I wasn't driving. So, see, they didn't have to pull me over. Before, they would have to pull me over and then, find out, hey, he's registered. Here, they were just trying to take it off the street without me. They didn't know who owned it, and of course, they were hoping they could just steal it and it would be gone. But I walked out. I caught him in the act. And I said, so I didn't get upset. I just said, hey, what are you guys doing? You're taking my business property. He goes, this is your truck. I said, it's my business entity's truck. My business owns this truck. See that private property sign? That's on you guys, hands off. But obviously, you don't know what the law is. But that's okay. I said, I just have to show you something. And they weren't going to let me go back in the house. Did I already tell you this? I think I already told you.
Yes, you did,
they wouldn't let me go in the house. So I went in the house anyway. I said, what are you going to do, shoot me for going in the house? Go right ahead. I walked right back in. So this is something I guarantee they've never dealt with.
Right.
But then tow truck company operators haven't been sued yet either. So you can bet when he loses, they're going to have a powwow. And I already told his attorney, I said, listen, I'll help you sue the city. If all the operators, got together, they would be able to force the city to write a contract that protects them. And see, that's when the city would probably say, well, we're not going to protect you.
Right.
You're on your own. And so it's one of those things where until somebody gets stung, they're just going to keep doing what they've been doing all along. And they're getting more brazen about it nowadays because they need money.
Right. Doug, I hate to cut this short, but I've got to go. I got another call starting at 8 o'clock.
No problem. Talk to you later, man.
Hey, listen, thank you so much for the call. I learned so much, Doug, and I want to stay in touch.
Okay, do that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Bye.